Now we've talked about the timeline a little bit. Let's dive in to the nitty-gritty on how each of these steps are a little bit different. The first step, and arguably the most important, the dual pre-approval. We know that you may already have some lenders that are able to do a loan like this, but if not, Makeover Homes has a plethora of preferred lenders who are able to get your clients dual pre-approved. The reason we go with the dual pre-approval is you never know what kind of house you're going to run into. You may run into a house that's already done. You may run into a house that turns out after the inspection is done has a problem or two that needs fixed. Or third option, you may run into a home and you know right out of the gate you need a garage, you need to update that kitchen, and you're going to fix the mold that you guys saw in the basement. Either way, the dual pre-approval allows you and your client to walk into a property and buy it. Whether it's done, might need some renovation, or for sure need some renovation. We do this in several different versions. There's an FHA product using a 203K. There's a conventional loan called a home style loan. And then both VA and USDA have renovation loans as well. So again, if you already have a lender that you like to work with, or if your client has a lender that they really like to work with, as long as that client is able to and experienced in renovation loans, we welcome them. We're always looking for more lenders to add to our preferred network. However, if your lender or your client's lender is not into the renovation loan, whether they don't like it, they can't do it, or won't do it, we've got plenty of preferred lenders that are more than willing, very experienced, and will help you out. So your client has become dual pre-approved, and now it's time to go house shopping. The good news here, and like we just talked about, you talk to your client, you go and you find a home. If that home is totally ready, move-in ready, as we would say, go ahead and make that offer. Everything else is as you've done 100 times before. You order the inspection, get the appraisal done, get ready for closing. Give them the keys and their little gift card, and they're off to the races. However, if you run into a home, either through the inspection phase or before that is going to need some renovation or some repair, you can make that offer as well. With the dual pre-approval, your house shopping options just opened up. You can search for that home that's done, or you can search for that home that needs a little work. So your client found that house that they want to make an offer on, and now it's time. Like we talked about before, if the house is ready to go, make an offer subject to inspection and financing, and let it go. However, if we know that there's going to be a foreseen repair or renovation that client is interested in getting done, then we recommend you make an offer subject to a contractor bid, and we also recommend that you add an extra week into that inspection period so that we have time. So your inspection period now becomes inspection, HUD Consultant, and contractor bid. So the traditional 14 days is a little bit tight to get all of that in and done. We ask to have 21 days so that we have a little bit of extra time for that contractor to get a bid put together. Now, if the project is going to be large and they're doing a big giant addition, or they're adding a mother-in-law suite, or there's a lot of additional work that's going to be involved, maybe add an extra 2 weeks just to give that contractor a little bit more time to get that bid put in. Either way, if you find a home, it's time to make an offer. If it's ready to go, purchase it per usual. If it needs a little bit of extra work, give us a little bit of extra time and make sure that it's subject to contractor bid, and we're good to go. Once your offer is made, it's time for that home inspection. We recommend a home inspector 100% of the time. These are going to be the guys that really crawl all over that house and figure out what the issues may or may not be. If you're using an FHA, a VA, or a USDA loan, then we recommend that the inspector you choose is an inspector who can give you an FHA minimum standards list at the end of that inspection. If you're using a conventional loan, you don't necessarily need your FHA minimums list. However, if you have the opportunity, and it doesn't cost anymore, to use an inspector that has an FHA list attached to their inspection, then you might as well. You never know what kind of situation you're going to run into. And if you have that FHA minimums list going into it, it makes the HUD consultant's job easier, and it makes the contractor's job easier headed into the next steps of the Makeover mortgage process. And now we've made it to the step that not very many realtors are familiar with, the HUD Consultant. The HUD Consultant is part of HUD. So if your client is using an FHA loan, a USDA loan, or a VA loan, most of those lenders will require that a HUD Consultant is involved in the project. If your client is doing a conventional loan, but the project's got a little bit more size, or your lender is just more comfortable using a HUD Consultant, then it may be required. This is something that we will help you verify before an offer is even made. The HUD Consultant's job is to be the liaison between the client, the contractor, and the lender. This is the person that lets the lender know what job is being done. So they start by touring the project with your client. They're going to walk that project. They've got their FHA minimums list from their inspector. They're going to walk that project. They're going to figure out what the grand scope of work is. Let's just say the FHA minimums list said we need to replace a roof, and we also need to fix a couple leaks that are in one of the bathrooms. However, your client has decided they want to also completely renovate that bathroom rather than just fixing the leaks. The HUD Consultant is going to verify all of the work can be done. They're going to jot down the scope of work that's going to be put into the project, and then they're going to take pictures and videos. They're going to bottle all of this up and relay it to the lender to let the lender know what's going on, what kind of project is going to be done, and then we're also going to relay that information to the contractor. This gets the contractor a head start. Now they know what the scope of work is, they've seen the project, and when they walk that project with your client, they've already got a leg up. They know exactly what they're walking into. So the HUD Consultant is a requirement for large FHA jobs, VA jobs, USDA jobs, and most conventional jobs. And think of them as, again, your consultant. They make sure the project goes smooth. They make sure that the contractor gets paid if and when it's time for that contractor to be paid. And they let the lender know that everything is going smooth. As we briefly mentioned before, after the HUD Consultant comes through, it's time for the contractor. The contractor is going to use the HUD Consultant's scope of work and pictures to walk the project and actually throw a tape measure around. He's going to figure out exactly what that bid's going to cost. He's also going to determine what the real scope of work is. We oftentimes discover that after a HUD Consultant walks a job with a client, that client goes home, they sleep, they dream a little bit more, and when the contractor walks in, there are a few more things that are added to that scope of work. Once the contractor puts a number to that scope of work and creates the bid, they share that with the client. Once the client and the contractor have accepted terms, that bid is then sent to the HUD Consultant to verify and then sent off to the lender. One thing to note, not just any contractor can do this job. There are specially trained 203K contractors out there. Makeover Renovations has a preferred contractor list of contractors that we've trained and we know are experienced using the renovation loan and the Makeover mortgage process as a whole. If you go out and you try to find any old contractor off the street, or even ask a friend that you think may be able to do it, if they aren't experienced with the renovation loan world, they are not going to be a good fit. There's additional paperwork, there's additional validation, there's additional red tape that a new contractor is going to have to figure out. And what that's going to do is it's going to slow down the process. It's going to slow down the bid, it's going to slow down the validation, and it's going to ultimately slow down your project. That's something that we never want. So you want to make sure that any contractor that you use has done a 203K or other renovation loan project, or just refer to us at Makeover Renovations, and we'll shoot you one of our preferred contractors who we know has been trained, has done the project before, and has had great reviews and great responses from other clients that they've worked with in the past.